friends, welcome to Coding Host YouTube channel. In this video, I will explain you a Leetcode problem, set matrix zeros. So I already have made a video on this question in my array playlist at video number 41. But in that video, I have shown you only brute force approach. But in this video, I will show you optimized approach for this question. So you can see that in this question, we will get a integer matrix, and if an element is 0, then we have to set its entire row and column as zeros. You can see here at example 1. So in this matrix we have this element 0 at center, so then we have to make this row and column as 0 and 0. So first I will write the program and then I will explain you the working of the program. First I will take two variables, boolean row equal to false and column equal to false. Then I will take two integer variables, int n equal to matrix dot length and m equal to matrix of 0 dot length. In these two variables I have stored the number of rows and number of columns of the matrix. Then I will take a for loop for int I equal to 0 and I less than n and I plus plus. Then in this for loop I will take a if statement. If matrix of I comma 0 equal to 0, so in this if statement we will make this variable column equal to true. So I have written this whole for loop in a single line, so you can easily understand it now, because in this program we have to use many for loops, so later you will not get confused. And then I will take another for loop for int j equal to 0 and j less than m and j plus plus. So if matrix of 0 comma j equal to 0, then we will make row equal to true. So this first for loop is for checking the zeros in the first row, and the second for loop is for checking the 0 in the first column. Then I will take another for loop for int I equal to 1 and I less than n and I plus plus, and inside this for loop I will take another for loop for int j equal to 1 and j less than m and j plus plus. So in this for loop we will take a if statement. If matrix of I comma j equal to 0, then I will write here two statements, matrix of I comma 0 equal to 0 and matrix of 0 comma j equal to 0. So what we are doing is, so we are starting from index 1 and 1 in this second for loop. So this first and second for loop is only for checking the zeros in first row and first columns, but this nested for loops is for checking the zeros from second row and second column. So if we found 0 at any index from second column or second row, then what we are doing is we are marking the first row and first column with zeros. So we can write this two statement in a single line also. So this both indexes will become 0 in this single statement. So I already told you that from this for loop we are setting the first row and first column with 0. After that we have to take for loop to make the entire row and entire column as 0. So what I will do is we have to copy these two for loops as it is. So here I will copy this for loop, and inside this for loop I will take if statement. If matrix of I comma 0 equal to 0, so then what I will do is, so in this if statement we will make that whole column as 0. So matrix of I comma j equal to 0. So this first statement is for making column as 0, and after that we have to use one more if statement for making the row as 0. So I will copy this if statement here, and here I will write 0 and j, and here I will write row, and the rest of this statement will remain as it is. I can do also one more thing. We can make this both if statement in a single statement. So you can see that in this both if statement we are doing the same operation. We are making the index I and j equal to 0. So I will copy this statement from here, and here I will use OR operator. So now we don't have to use extra lines in the program. In the last we have to use two more for loops, but we have to take if statement. If row, inside this if statement I will write for int j equal to 0 and j less than m and j plus plus. So here I will write matrix of 0 comma j equal to 0. So this first if statement is for making the first row as 0, and then you have to take one more if statement, if column. So in this if statement I will take one more for loop for int I equal to 0 and I less than n and I plus plus, and here I will write matrix of I comma 0 equal to 0. So this second if statement is for making the first column as 0. So now let's run this program. So you can see that this program is working fine. Now let's see how this program is working. So I have taken this matrix of 3 by 3 in which we have two zeros in this matrix. So it means that we have to make this whole row and this whole column as 0. And you can see I have also marked this code with marker. So you can easily see the starting and ending of the for loops and if statements. Now let's see this program. So you can see in the starting I have taken these two variables row and column equal to false. So we have these two variables row and column which are false. Then you can see that I have taken two variables and an m. So in this n variable I am storing matrix dot length. So it means the number of rows. So in this matrix we have how many rows? 3. So in the n variable we have 3, and in the m variable we have matrix 0 dot length. So it means that number of columns. So number of columns in this matrix is also 3. After that I have taken this for loop for int I equal to 0. So this for loop will start from 0 here, and we are checking this index here I comma 0. So initially I is 0, so we are checking which index right now, 0 and 0. So at index 0 and 0 do we have 0? You can see no. So this if statement is false and this statement will not execute. Then I will increment, I will become 1. Now we will check at this index 1 comma 0. So at this index 1 comma 0 do we have 0? No, we have 1. So again this if statement is false and it will not execute. Then I plus plus, I will become 2. Now it will check this index 2 comma 0. So at this index also we have 1. Again this if statement is false, so it will not execute. So in this for loop what we are doing is we are checking this first column if any of the element in this column is 0 or not, because after that we are using this first row and first column for marking them with the zeros. So you can see that in the column we don't have 0 here, so that's why this column variable will not become true, because it means that we don't have to make this whole column as a 0, because if there will be any 0 present in this column, so then we have to make this whole column as a 0. But now we don't have 0 in this whole column, so that's why this column variable will not become true. And after that we have this second for loop. So in this second for loop we will check this first row if we have 0 in this first row or not. So you can see that this second for loop will start from j equal to 0. Here we are checking this index 0 comma j. So it means that 0 and 0. So at this index 0 and 0 do we have 0? You can see no. So this if statement is false, then j will increment, so j will become 1. Now you can see that at this index 0 comma 1 we have 0 in the matrix, yes. So this row variable will become true. So now this row variable will become true. It means that later we have to make this whole row as 0, because we have 0 present in this row. After that j will increment, so it will become 2. You can see that at this index 0 comma 2 we have 1. So this if statement will not execute, and after that this for loop will break. After that we have these two nested for loops. These nested for loops will start from index 1 and 1, because we already have checked the first row and first column. So you can see here I is starting from 1. Then we will go in the second for loop. Here j is starting from 1. So here j is 1. So now it will check here if at this index I comma j do we have 0. So at index 1 comma 1 comma 1, yes we have 0 here. So what it will do is it will set the first row and first column with 0. It means that these two indexes I comma 0 and 0 comma j, so these two indexes are, so I comma 0 is 1 comma 0 because I is 1, and 0 comma j is 0 comma 1 because j is also 1. So at these two indexes we have to mark 0 in the matrix. So this index 1 comma 0, it will become 0 here. So now this index will become 0, and at index 0 and 1 we also have to make 0, but you can see that already at this index 0 and 1 we have 0, so it will remain as it is. Then j will increment, so j will become 2. Now you can see that at this index 1 comma 2 do we have 0? You can see no. So then this j for loop will break, and after that I will increment, so I will become 2. So now you can see that when I will become 2, again we will go in this for loop where j is starting from 1. So now at this index 2 comma 1 it will check, do we have 0? You can see no. So this if statement will not execute. Then j will increment, so j will become 2. You can see at this index 2 comma 2 do we have 0? You can see no, we have 1. So this if a statement is not going to execute, then this j for loop will break, and after that this I for loop will also break. So this nested for loops will break. So the use of this nested for loops is only marking this first row and first column as 0. So we already have marked this first column as 0, and this first row was already having 0 in its right index. So now in the second nested for loops, what we are doing is now we will make this whole column and row as 0. So let's see how. So again here I and j will start from 1. So here I is starting from 1. After that we will go in this second for loop, and here j is starting from 1. So now here it will check if at this indexes I comma 0 or 0 comma j do we have 0. You can see I comma 0 means index 1 comma 0 because I is 1, and 0 comma j means index 0 comma 1. So if any of this index have a 0, then this if statement will execute. You can see at index 1 comma 0 we have 0, so this if statement is true. So what it will do is it will make this index I and j equal to 0, but you can see at this index 1 comma 1 we already have 0, so it will remain as it is and nothing will happen. Then j will increment, so j will become 2. When index is 1 and 2, again it will check the same statement if I comma 0 is 0 or 0 comma j is 0. Now you can see these two indexes. So now I is still 1, so it will check the same index 1 comma 0, but in the case of j, now j is 2, so it will check this index 0 comma 2. So you can see these two indexes. So at index 1 comma 0 we have 0, yes, so this first index is right, but 0 comma 2 is not is 0, it is 1, but still this if statement will execute, it will make this index 1 comma 2 as 0. So now at this index we have 0, so now this whole row has become 0. So after that this for loop will break, this inside j for loop will break, and then I will increment, so now I will become 2. So then again we will go in this inside for loop, and here j is again starting from 1, so j is starting from 1. Again it will check that if I comma 0 is 0 or 0 comma j is 0. I comma 0 means 2 comma 0, and 0 comma j means 0 comma 1. So here I is 2, so that's why I is 2 here, and here j is 1, so that's why j is 1 here. So 2 comma 0, so at this index 2 comma 0 we have 1, so here we don't have 0, but at this index 0 comma 1, so 0 comma 1 we have 0, yes. So this if condition is right, and it will make this index I comma j 0. So this index 2 comma 1 this index, now it will become 0. So you can see that this whole column and this whole row now has become 0. So after that what will happen, this j will increment, so it will become 2. But you can see that at this indexes 2 comma 0 and 0 comma 2 we don't have zeros here, so because of that this if statement will not execute, and in the last both these nested for loops will break. Now in the last we have this remaining two if statement, so you can see that it will check if row is true. You can see yes, because earlier we have a 0 in this first row, so it means that we also have to make this whole row as a 0. So you can see that here j will start from 0, so this index j is starting from 0, and we are marking this index 0 comma j with 0. So first index is 0 comma 0, So this index 0 comma 0 will become 0. Then j will increment, so it will become 1. So next index is 0 comma 1. So at this index we already have 0, so it will remain same. Then j will increment, so it will become 2. So next index is 0 comma 2. So at index 0 comma 2 we will make this element 0. So you can see that now this first row also has become 0, and after that this for loop will break. Then it will check this next if statement. So you can see column is false because earlier we don't had 0 in this whole column. That's why we don't have to make this whole column as 0. So this if statement is not going to execute. So this is our final output. And if you see the time complexity of this program, it is big O of n into m. So where n is the number of rows and m is the number of column, and space complexity of this program is big O of 1 because we don't have made a new matrix. We are making the changes in the earlier matrix. So now let's submit this program. So you can see that this program has submitted successfully. Thanks for watching.